flank, though. And how slow do Impulse want to play? They're 45 seconds away from Dragon. And they're
can keep it. My mind's made up on who I want holding it. You're a little too close, but too far away. It's much too early, or it's far too late. Maybe I'm too old now, or just afraid that you'll walk away. Just a glance was all it took for me to fall, but you don't even know that you were looking at me. And when you smile, smile with your eyes pass right over me like I'm as out of place as it feels to be. You're a little too close, but too far away. It's much too early, or it's far too late. Maybe I'm too old now, I'm just afraid that you'll walk away. You're across the room from me, but it's an ocean wide, and the current's pulling us, dragging me aside. Or you're a constellation, and I'm just a star, blinking in the universe, but you'll never notice me at all. When you're gone, I don't know what to say. When you're with me, I can't say anything anyway, so just believe me. Even if the words don't come out, they're here inside my head, stuck inside my mouth.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second episode of Coach's Corner, where we learn how to stun our opponents on solo queue. Today with me I have first-time Draven to go over what it takes to become that late-game carry dream god. First-time Draven, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot for having me.
No problem. So, for all of you guys that were here last time, thank you so much. And for anyone new, I am just going to explain a little bit how this show is going to go down. So, first we are going to go over the keys of the game on the left-hand side of your screen. And then we're going to jump into the replay where we're going to have some in-depth replay analysis to go over some of those keys. And then at the end of the show, we will have Q&A and chat. Try to keep your questions focused on the lesson today. However, I'm sure first-time Draven won't care about answering anything else.
I won't mind at all.
But before we get right into the show, I do want to give a quick shout-out to everybody that has helped me produce this show, and a quick happy birthday to Matt DuPont. He has been instrumental in getting this show off the ground, including the website and all the behind-the-scenes technical stuff. So thank you to everyone who has been involved in making this show possibility. So, on that note, let's jump into things. Let's first start off by going over the 3 keys of the game. For first-time Draven's amazing solo queue endeavor, we have, first of all, capitalizing on bad situations, which unfortunately I do have to say will come up from time to time in this replay.
It happens.
It does happen to the best of us, especially on solo queue when everything is so unpredictable. Secondly, we have matchup understanding, especially in the bot lane when we're dealing with 2 people as opposed to 1 or jungle creeps. And 3, we have playing from behind. Again, sadly, we do have to go over this topic, but I think it is a very extremely important one, as I think we've all been in a solo queue game where we've been behind, and if you haven't, then you probably have never played solo queue. So, with all that being said, let's jump right into things, shall we?
Let's do it.
Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start the game up right now. So, we have...
Rather strange team comp.
Yeah, strange team comp indeed with a Vayne top, but we have first time Draven on none other than Draven, which, surprise, surprise. So, as we load up into the Rift here and we wait out that nice 155-ish time limit, why don't you go ahead and just explain really quickly runes and masteries, and then we can get into more of the matchup and that kind of thing.
So I run a pretty standardized AD carry rune page right now with 16% attack speed, which is rushed between the quints and 4 glyphs. I run 6 or 5 MR glyphs, then pure armor yellows and pure AD reds. And my masteries are standardized 2190. I don't go for any of the spell weaving or blade weaving. You can on Draven, as his axes do proc them, but I think it's preference. I've tried it, I don't like it as much. I really like the increased bonus attack damage. So, again, it's pretty standard. You want the attack speed to be able to last hit faster, to be able to build those big items before you have to build attack speed items. Like on Draven, going BTIE is bigger than going PDIE in most cases. Because if you can 2-hit somebody before they can hit you 3 times, then you're probably in a good spot.
And we'll talk about this a little bit more throughout the show and the replay as well. But Draven, obviously, a little bit more of a unique AD carry in that aspect. A lot of AD carries rely heavily on attack speed. Draven more heavily on just catching his axes and getting a few of those attacks off, because when they do go off, they're going to be incredibly potent.
Devastating.
So here we go with the, very standard leash into bot. Now, what you're going to see early here, which is pretty standard, however, I do want to touch on it. You're going to see first-time Draven start pushing this wave pretty quickly here with his support Thresh, just to get that level 2 power spike. I'll let you talk about that a little bit, but we can...
Also, a good way to push for your level 2, is when you queue up your axes at 151 right before the Grom spawns, you can get your second axe before you're even in the lane. So it really helps with that early push and trying to establish that dominance. But again, if your support doesn't help you push, it's going to be a tough one. So I always try for it, though.
Yeah, I'm sure... Hopefully it's not the first time you've heard about how important, especially in the bot lane, getting that level 2 before your opponent is. It can decide a lane within the first 3 minutes of the game. Just having that level 2, either being able to zone out your opponent or go for a pretty quick kill there. But unfortunately your Thresh doesn't position right, doesn't get level 2.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you guys are still in a pretty good situation.
Also, Thresh missed a CS before even getting into lane. I don't know why, but he stood at the turret for a while. So I got the early too, but yeah, I guess he wants to give them a handicap or something. But
hey, if you're playing Draven, gotta give them a handicap.
That'd be nice,
especially if your name is First Time Draven. So
yeah, that's true.
But as we keep going here in laning phase, you will notice that
Eve
goes for a little bit of an early gank. However, that tornado sort of negates most of that, and Thresh covers his eyes and goes for the hook, and unfortunately doesn't come anywhere close. So let's talk about that a little bit too. I want to give you a chance to talk about what it's like, even in the highest echelon of play here, a high diamond game here, just talking about what it's like to lane with maybe a support that's not a support main, or having an off game, or just bad. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, you really got to gauge how your support is able to play the lane. If your support can't follow up the plays you're able to make, or if you're not even able to make a play because he's so far behind you, then you really got to play defensively after that. And try to go for trades and make it really obvious for him. When he goes for a good hook, I always position up, even if he misses it. I'm always ready to follow it up every single time. So he does miss a lot, but he does make up for it sometimes. So I always try to tell him just to keep his head in the game, not to worry about the missed hooks, because he does apologize to me, which I thought was nice.
Yeah, I mean, that's always good to have someone who's either tilting or off, at least not be in a terrible mindset, not tilting even harder. But, you know, we've all been in those games where your support or your AD carry is not playing well, and just how to play around that is also really important in solo queue. It's just something that's a little bit overlooked as well. But yeah, you guys did go for that. He did actually, as we were talking about that, of course, get one of his only good hooks of the game. Unfortunately, doesn't follow up with an exhaust, which I think would have led to a kill.
Yeah, it definitely would have.
However, yeah, you do get to establish this nice sort of bullying lane dominance here, which again I'll let you talk about a little bit more.
Yeah, as Draven, you really want to establish your dominance early in the phase before level 6, especially against Janna and Jinx. They're extremely safe farmers, and if you can zone them out early, they're gonna have a hard time mid to late game.
Yeah, let's talk about that matchup a little bit. Let's, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jinx and Janna against Draven, Thresh. You guys are both somewhat of a hyper carry. I guess you guys probably are hyper carries with sort of your peeling support, I guess you could say. So talk about how this matchup tends to go, or what the keys for you are.
I usually love a Thresh support, but into a Janna lane is kind of rough with Jinx, because she outranges me by a hell of a lot at a certain, like, about like level 5, I'd say, when she gets her level 3Q. Or level 2Q, sorry. And I really just gotta trade outside of the Janna E's, like her shields, because I'll lose every single trade unless my Thresh can get a nasty hook.
Yeah,
so
I think that's extremely important too.
Yeah.
Making sure, yeah, this is.
You gotta play it safe and smart.
Get run down a little bit here, but you know, making sure to play within the within or without, depending on what we want to do, the cooldowns of your enemy and your ally, I guess too, your support is a huge deal in this game, and especially as an AD carry. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well. But Nidalee comes up here.
Yeah, she gets a really good gank on us here.
Try to escape,
being greedy and competition completely.
There goes first time Draven. There he goes. We are down 0-1 in this game.
Dying on Draven feels worse than dying on any other AD, because if you don't cash in that passive, you virtually are down a skill. Like, if I don't cash in, I lose half my stacks and half my passive until I cash in.
So just to make sure everybody knows the passive on Draven.
Oh, yep.
It's just you get money based on killing things.
All money, like so much money. Especially if you're a good Draven. You get 2 gold per stack, and then you get a 50 base gold every time you kill somebody. So say for example you have 100 stacks, which is pretty standard place by like 6 minutes, and it's not hard to get 100 stacks. That's 250 gold for every single kill with just 100 stacks. By 10 minutes you can average 200 stacks if you're CSing like decently, maybe 250 if you're CSing perfectly.
So at this point, Thresh just kind of has to back, and you had almost enough money for a BF sword. So quickly talk about why you came back. Yeah, why you came back to lane there just for a few CS.
A lot of people on any other AD carry, I probably would have bought pickaxe and boots, but on Draven, that early BF sword is such a critical item. So if you can get a early BF sword before 8 minutes, you have a huge window to win the game, or like win the lane into the game. So once you get that BF sword, you're going to outdamage every other AD carry that has a BF sword. And I always look for that trade, and I ignore Thresh Lantern all the time because I'm always looking around that, by the way.
So
like,
that also just goes to knowing your matchup, knowing your champion, and you know,
knowing I need to cash in. So waiting was totally worth it. Even if I get denied a few CS, if I end up getting that BF sword within like the next 3 waves, it's worth it. I didn't even buy pots, if you notice. Like, I wanted it bad.
So here we are, almost level 6. And where are we at time-wise? We're about 8:30, so this is going to be an action-packed couple of seconds here.
Yeah.
You guys are going to start trading. Yeah, and Eve is coming down. Thresh finally gets a hook, which is going to end up being okay, as you guys tend to trade here.
We do get kited a bit.
So you'll see that there's a TP coming down right now. Yeah. Good Evelyn gank under tower, gets the kill.
Takes my lantern! I was so salty.
He was out. He was out.
Yeah, he was.
Unfortunately there, 2 of you guys go down, you get the assist. So now we're down 0-2.
Half my stacks gone. Also, every time you die on Draven, you lose 50% of your stacks.
Yeah.
And when you're at like 150, 200 stacks, it It can tilt you, absolutely. If you're at 400 stacks, you might as well just leave the game. That's so hard to deal with. It just zones you out. You're like, I could have had this much money, but I didn't.
So let's talk about being a little bit behind here. So if we look in terms of the actual AD carry to AD carry matchup, you're even in some ways. Pretty even. Luckily, Jinx didn't get that kill, and you've been farming pretty adequately compared to her. So you guys are about even. If we look at gold, we're probably a little bit ahead just because of your passive and actually just
haven't cashed in yet.
Yeah, you're exactly even. So
exactly.
Yeah. So until that passive, until you get to cash in. So this is a very important part of the game right here. You can see you guys are freezing the lane. Now walk me through this, and I want everybody to pay attention.
Freezing the lane when you're behind is really hard to do, and if you can get any opportunity to do so, it's perfect. Because when I freeze the lane here, it forces them to position up on us, which gives us pressure from our jungle, and they have to play defensively, but they're not. They're playing like aggressively because they want that CS, which means we can go for the plays, and Thresh lands a good hook, and I follow it up with a big play. I grab the lantern here, dodge as many skill shots as I possibly can, and I get a perfect opportunity for double ulti on both of them, and I just clean house, and I cashed in a bunch of money there. So, like, if you look at the gold difference now, I'm up 1,100 gold, and we were just even, not even 2 minutes ago.
He was actually 30 gold behind, I think, or maybe ahead, I don't remember. But yeah, so from 30 gold ahead or behind to, 1,100 up in a matter of seconds, right? And that was all due to the fact that you froze your lane near your tower, and that forced, because you guys were mostly even, that forced Jinx to feel like she at least had the chance to fight you. She wasn't getting demolished, so she had to come up for that.
She didn't feel bad about it either.
Right. So she had to come up for that CS, and luckily, actually, both of the junglers were down there, and you ended up getting the kill, getting out, and then the great counter gank by Eve comes in.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Another big thing here with this Jinx is she is not respecting my Thresh at all. And that's a big no-no on an AD carry with no escapes. Because he's been missing a lot, but he'll hit the easy ones.
So
I hope.
Here you guys have to burn a lot of your summoners
that was
to get out of here.
That's a poor decision. We asked for Eve to come down and just stay around for that BM gank, hoping Nidalee wouldn't come, hoping she was a greedy jungler, but of course she's a huge team player this game, so she came down, counter-ganked it, and we were still low from the previous fight, and we got punished for it big time. That's just a greedy solo queue play, it happens. I mean, if it worked, then it would have sealed the game pretty handily. So we would have just kept beating them and denying.
So we can see Thresh here.
Yeah,
sticking around for
I don't know
approximately no reason.
He's like, I can solo defend this tower. I got blue.
Let's go. Thresh with blue is about as good as.
It's like, I got exhaust. And funny enough, it pays off. He gets a good hook on the Nidalee. But she has flash, so she gets out pretty easily. I go for the Jinx here. She has flash as well and her passive. I can't chase, so I don't even bother. I just stick to the CS. Thresh dies. It's unfortunate, but we did burn a lot of their stuff. So it's always great to keep note of summoner spells. If you know they don't have something up and you do have something up, you always... Well, in my opinion, I always go in when I know they don't have flash. But I'm really aggressive in terms of fighting. So I usually barely CS because I fight too much.
So speaking of that, you're at 80 CS. I'm not going to talk about what CS you should be at, but relative in this game, you are around
it's pretty good.
15-20 CS above your other AD carry opponents, so you have to be feeling at least pretty decent about that. And you are definitely ahead on gold. If we check now, you are at 4,600 to 3,500. So you are pretty far ahead on gold.
Yeah,
there.
I'm like a whole pickaxe up right now.
And you do get that local gold from killing the tower at about 12 minutes, 13 minutes. So talk a little bit about taking that tower quickly, and then we're going to skip to another part of this game.
So I took the tower at 13 minutes rather than around 11 minutes, because usually you have a better opportunity to fight people when their tower's up, because they feel safer and more confident to sit under it. So I like to leave it up before 12 minutes, but as soon as that 12-minute mark hits, I take it. Because around 12 minutes is when you should have an item ready, and you're able to roam around and help your team out. Before that, you're pretty weak as an AD. So if I take the turret, and my turret's still up, I'm able to roam around, and that pressures Jinx to push the wave and help her team. But I'm already there to help. So when she pushes, I get free farm when I rotate back down. Or I get a free turret from mid lane or something.
Alright,
it's not like focusing on farm, it's about helping a team, right?
So as you were speaking, I'm going to actually pause the game. I'm going to pause the game really quick here. So as you were speaking, we did see you go ahead and grab a double kill. I'm going to skip to about 20 minutes now.
Okay.
If I can find it. My replay is being a little funky. So I am
I'm there.
fast forwarding to 20 minutes because my replay is being glitchy. Alright, I'm at... I can't pause my replay, so I am starting now at 1955.
Alright. I'm there.
So at this point in the game, we've skipped a little bit into the mid-game, beginning of the mid to late game.
The siege.
You picked up a couple kills right before we skipped. That was just good outplay, good 2v3, you got double kill.
Catches in our jungle, thanks to wards and stuff.
So right now you are, I would say, extremely ahead of the, extremely ahead of the Jinx. You have almost an item and a half up, or maybe a full item up. And you are the majority of your team's damage right now, along with you.
At least 70%, I'd say.
So let's talk. Yeah. Besides Thresh getting annihilated, let's talk a little bit about. We've reached the 20-minute mark. We've reached mid-game. You know, as an AD carry, but more specifically Draven, I guess.
Yeah.
What's going through your head, especially when you start to group up here, especially in terms of who's on the other team? You got a Victor, you have a Nidalee, right? So talk to me a little bit about sort of your positioning and what you're looking out for, especially in terms of abilities.
So I'd say Victor E alt is my biggest concern right now. Victor W is not really that scary on Draven. You can W away from it pretty easily. But Victor E ulti can almost two-shot me at this point in the game because I don't have time to build defensive right now. I am the main source of damage, and I need to maintain that role. So I'm trying to play as safe as I can because if I die, they're taking everything. So Thresh gets a decent hook there. I get a free kill because I'm just waiting it out. I'm waiting for somebody to position up and just play carelessly.
And you can see you're at low health, but you're still sort of but you're still playing
relevant.
Defensive, right? You're getting those. You know, Thresh got the hook. You moved up, right? You're in position to make the play. So again, we're as you'll notice in more coaches corners games, they're going to be very solo queue-esque. I'm sure you guys can all relate to these sort of sloppy fights. And here's where the game starts to get a little bit out of hand. You guys are going to end up...
We get greedy.
Yeah, greedy, kind of cleaned up here, and they're going to open up that mid turret. So,
this is like zero knowledge what summoners they have up and what ultis. Like they had heal up, so I couldn't get a kill on the Nid. So we just get like overtued for no reason. Actually, Vayne solos Darius, which is nice, but still doesn't help us out.
Splitting that entire time. Got a tower, but honestly, not really that worth.
Yeah, we lost too much.
So
like now they're up on gold on us from that one single play.
I was about to say, if you look at the gold,
and Jinx is in the game now.
You guys are down. Jinx just got a couple kills. She's gonna complete at least her core item and hopefully something else. A little bit. She's still pretty far behind.
She got her boots.
She has boots. She can move quickly now.
There's the huge Victor damage, which is fucking terrifying. Yeah, always watch out for that.
So again, just reiterating that point. Staying away, staying sort of in that not crossing that imaginary line of if I cross this point, I can potentially get X, Y, and Z. I can get Victor ulted, I can get Nidalee speared, you know, all these things. As an AD carry, how important is that? How often is that running through your mind?
It's probably this, like, all roles usually have to watch out for things, but as an AD carry, you're probably the most susceptible to things. So it's probably my main concern at any mid to late game transition, especially late game when they have a huge CC or big front line. So I always make sure I'm dodging things. And I'm never just looking out for one person. Like, you could be looking out for, like the Victor's hard engage, and then Janet can Q me, and being 80, like Draven, 80 carry, a Janet Tornado is devastating to me. Like, that'll just lead to me getting 100 to 0'd. Because I don't have Ezreal E, things like that, like an instant gap closer. So a Janet Q means Nid can close the gap on me, Janet can slow me some more, Victor can cast 1 E and I'm dead. Like, just silly stuff like that. I always gotta watch out for every single bit of CC. Everything overlaps into everything as an AD carry because you're the main source of damage and you're the main concern of the enemy team. If they kill you, they're going to kill your team too.
Exactly. So
you have to be alive.
I think something that gets a little bit not overlooked, but instead not overlooked, but not thought about as often as it should is just what can kill me at this time. And it's not
everything.
And it's not. Yeah, exactly. And
that's how I look at it.
Exactly. As the game gets later and later, you know, one Janna E just to slow you down can chain into everything else. So I think, you know, that's incredibly important. So we're gonna see here your positioning in this fight is pretty great. You're not in the middle of it. You dodge the Darius E. You guys have a
down
decent
a man,
engage,
so
you're down a man, but here's where you
have
start
to wait it
turn
out.
things around. Yep.
So I see their front line, and the Victor's out to the side, so I'm just kiting the people I can. I catch the Janna out, which is really, really critical this fight, because she can't shield people and slow me down. So I just kite the Darius out. I got the Zeke's on me, so my DPS is like through the roof. I kill the Darius, and another thing people don't realize is an AD carry. Like, you can die in a fight and go like 1 for 3 trade, but if you're alive at the end of a fight, you can push towers faster than any other role. And people always forget that. Like, an AD carry is a tower pusher. In a lot of like the Chinese metas, for example, they don't even build like attack speed items. They just go true poke, and when the team fight's done, they just push. That's all an AD carry did for a really long time. Only now is like a lot of the hyper carry type of thing coming into play, which I'm loving. Draven's seeing some more play.
So, you guys, I'm gonna actually skip to around 29 minutes here.
Sure.
So I'll let you know when I'm there. Okay, I'm at 29:01. Ready?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So, what happened here, we'll just explain. You guys got Baron. They did get the middle inhibitors, so it was a little
worth
bit...
for us, I see.
Yeah, it sort of counter-pushed the inhibitor, and just due to the team comp and everything, you guys sort of danced around, got a single tower, but weren't able to really push too much, and it sort of just counteracted the fact that your inhibitor was gone. So we
Prior to
skipped
what I
ahead.
just said, double AD carry does not mean your siege is good.
Exactly. Team comp still plays a factor.
Yes.
So
You can push towers fast, but you'll die.
let's talk a little bit now. This game, Dragon's pretty much a non-factor. You guys are rotating mid, and you're about to beat them to this rotation. Talk me through this play.
So I'm staying on the outside away from all the people that can kill me. I know Jinx is behind, so I go for that instant 2-hit. She's careless, she does not respect me. She had no respect for anybody on my team this game, and she paid the price for it. So when I get Zeke's, my DPS is uncomparable.
So by the way, support mains out there, Zeke's Herald.
Zeke's.
It's a pretty good item. It's okay.
I'd go Zeke's after Sightstone almost every game at this point. If you have a reliable AD though,
Yeah.
if your AD is like horrible, then maybe go for like a, I don't know, hard to say. I'd probably still go Zeke's.
So I also want to note something here is that you guys realize that you can't end the game here. This is like the biggest bronze noob mistake. I apologize if you are bronze, but know when you can end the game and know when you should back out. Because right now, they got almost an ace, 2 towers, and an inhibitor for nothing, right? You guys lost nothing. Had you guys stayed, and potentially, like, what were you going to get there, you know? Like, you probably weren't going to get a turn. And even if you did, and you lost everybody, that opens up the map for them to just go counter-push your inhibitor. So
around 30 minutes too, death timers become a bit bigger.
Right.
So you don't want to play carelessly. If we all died there, then they get either our inhibitor for free or they end the game.
Right.
And it's not worth it.
Speaking of careless.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so...
Let's not respecting the Victor again. That champion is way too strong to walk up to unless it's ease down.
Exactly, playing around cooldowns, especially...
So I'm life-stealing off the Gromp here too, because I notice we're still fighting, and I want to be as healthy as possible. And Draven has some of like the biggest like auto-attack to lifesteal ratios, as my axes also like scale off of lifesteal. So I know in like 2-3 hits I'm going to be 100% HP, so I'm able to fight again. Which is basically like, trying to understand Draven in a sense.
So yeah, so definitely. So let's look at this game again. So early game did not go super well. And you have to, you have to also compare. Like, you're not always just comparing to your lane opponent, right? Because you were definitely under farm, or not under farm, but under. You didn't have enough money. You didn't have your core items. Like, you could have had a way better early game. You could have been way more relevant. But now we're approaching 32 minutes. You've got your core items, and you just completed your Banshee's Veil as your last defensive item. Talk me through that Banshee's Veil. Talk me through why you got that and why you got it, or when you got it. Why you got it when you got it.
A lot of people get Banshee's Veil like 4th item, but this game, my DPS was way more important than me surviving, as my positioning was pretty good, and I noticed I wasn't getting as focused as I should have been. I noticed Vayne was getting a lot more focused, so I was able to procrastinate on my GA. Or not my GA, my Banshees. But last item, against their team comp, which is almost entirely damage, I had to get the Banshee's Veil. Like, you'll notice here, our Lulu gets cut out. It's a 4v5. I know they can't close the gap on me without flashes. Victor flashes carelessly, gets 2 hit, because that's just Draven DPS. And I stay in the bush to break the vision so they can't continue, like, chasing me. And then we just clean house because they did not respect my damage. Victor just got 2 hit before even being able to do anything.
So at the beginning of the broadcast, this is the late game dream right here. You're not being touched, and you are just doing tons of damage. He pretty much soloed out their carries that fight in like 3 hits. So that is going to be the game. You know, definitely a very solo queue game, but at the same time, a lot of extremely smart plays, even when behind, from our friend First Time Draven. Obviously, at the end of the game, make sure you do BM by showing off your
always
rank.
Slash dance every time.
Slash dance every time. So, let's quickly go over the keys to the game again. Let's talk about how you executed these keys, how they brought you back into the game, and then we can go ahead and start answering some questions. Let me just mute the sound here because it is annoying. Alright, so key number 1, capitalizing on bad situations. Let's go over that right now.
So I did get camped a lot that game, but other lanes were pressured as well, so I didn't complain much about it. But when I get camped by a jungler like Nidalee, I know there's always a chance I can kill her. And trading 1-for-1 on Draven is bigger than any other AD, because no matter what, you're always coming out on top. So I always try to go for at least 1-for-1, and a lot, I'd say about like 80% of the time she came bot, I got a 1-for-1 or 1-for-2. And if Thresh was a bit more coordinated with me, I think that game would have went a lot smoother. So, I love to capitalize on people being like really aggressive towards me.
A bad situation too, your Thresh wasn't hitting that many hooks. He was okay, but nowhere near like good, right? Especially in the early game. You dealt with that by maintaining your farm. You know, you didn't fall behind in farm.
Yep.
And just sort of capitalizing. I think you got your first assist or something when you had your BF sword. Just so knowing your power spikes, knowing when you can actually go in, get those kills. And then we can also transition that sort of. We'll talk about key 3 actually in a second here. But so key 2, matchup understanding. So as you had mentioned before, you're playing essentially 2 late game champions. However, Draven, I would correct me if I'm wrong, I think has a way stronger laning phase against, especially in a mobile champion like Jinx, especially once you get your BF sword, these kind of things. So
Janna was a bigger problem than she was.
Exactly. So and that's something too that needs to be, I think, sort of brought to the attention, is knowing who the bigger threat is in lane. I mean, most of the times it's probably going to be your AD carry, but in a lot of matchups, especially like a Soraka matchup or something stupid like that, knowing who to focus in those trades, knowing who, like, if you hit Jinx with like an axe and you have a Soraka matchup, it doesn't really do anything, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah,
you got to know how to coordinate your focus. Some people
and just understanding the matchup, understanding what can come out, and that goes to that sort of mid to late game focus of what do I have to be careful of. Well, even in laning phase, well, Jinx has chompers. Jinx has a slow. Janna's flash, is it up? Well, if it is, then I might get flash ulted backwards. All these things have to be coming into mind, especially as soon as a fight breaks out, right? Because you have to be thinking like, what is the worst thing that could happen right now, considering where I am, right? So,
Janna can be scarier than people think. She can Q me and shield her AD carry, and she can auto me too. Supports can be just as scary.
So last key to the game that we saw is playing from behind. And I think this goes 2 ways. This goes in lane, and this goes towards that mid to late game where we saw you guys behind in gold and get your inhibitor down. So let's talk a little bit about how, I want you to explain to me twofold. Laning, how you lane from behind. And capitalize on, let's say, getting camped. That Nidalee was down there quite a bit. And then transition that into what happens when your team gets behind in gold or in pressure along the map.
So a common misconception is people think playing defensively means you're losing, but playing defensively can be smarter than playing aggressively in a lot of cases. Like when I'm defensive and I'm behind, that means they're looking for more aggression to win the lane. And when they're aggressive, they tend to make more mistakes than I'm making playing defensively, as when I froze the lane and Jinx positioned up and got hooked for free and basically secured my lane. Like after that kill, I was able to play as aggressively as I wanted. So you gotta wait for those things to capitalize on and just play defensively in lane if you have to. If you can play aggressively and they're being bad, then do it. That's what I do. I like to play well against bad players.
So,
and
just before you finish here,
yeah.
if you guys have any questions, now's the time. Start
Asking
throwing them in the chat while first time Draven finishes up on this last key playing from behind, and then we'll take some questions from chat.
And in the mid game, I Thresh loved position forward and kept making it a 4v5. And I had to play like way behind because that's one less frontliner, one less peeler for me. I got to play smarter now. Like I got to know when I can hit them, how I can hit them, and how they can hit me. How they can hit me is way more important than how I can hit them. Because if I can hit them without them hitting me, I win easy peasy.
Yeah.
So I kept waiting for those opportunities. I sit back, I wait. Me not like auto-attacking every second of the fight is not a bad thing.
Right.
Your job as an AD carry is to look for your opportunities. You're an opportunistic role. You're not a constant frontliner. Like Draven is a hard like AD to position on. So you need to remember that as well. If you miss your axes, your DPS is way down, and you're getting hit now.
So let's transition that actually into our first question. One of the questions is, how important is catching your axes late game?
You should usually like have lower cooldowns on your axes, so catching them is not as relevant. But if you're in the middle of a team fight, you should always... It's like a second nature to me at this point. Like, when I'm autoing, I know exactly where my axe is going, so I'm always there. I always know where it needs to be, and that's part of like understanding the champion. As another AD carry, like you don't need to focus on that part as much, because Draven's the only person with that mechanic.
Right.
So it's in like a middle ground. If you're constantly auto-attacking, it's very important, but if you're only getting like one auto here and there, it's not too important because your axe will probably be up when you need it.
Alright, so let's also transition that into this question. So I'm just going to paraphrase this because it's a little bit hard to understand, but I understand what he's asking. So essentially, how do you deal with the prediction of people hooking you or skill shots when you're playing Draven, because they do know where your axes are going to fall? So I guess tips and tricks on dealing with that, or yeah, just thoughts?
That is a very common problem in playing Draven, especially against things like Leona, Thresh, all those things. Braum too. Like Braum can throw a Q at your axe and you don't even like realize it's going to come. But missing an axe to not die is always worth it.
Hear that, guys? And to you Draven players, don't go for that extra CS if you see the Thresh winding up for the hook, bringing you in. So
there's also like certain frames that you start to learn playing Draven, where if you're on the very edge of like the axe animation on the ground, you'll still catch it. And trying to position your axes around minions is very important. So like never throw them like way to the side. I usually throw them backwards, and I throw forwards and backwards and forwards. I keep doing that.
Okay.
What item do I normally get attack speed? That's a pretty good one.
Also second or third.
Second or third. That's pretty like matchup dependent. Like if I'm facing a team I need to kite, I'll usually go for attack speed because most attack speed items have movement speed on them. But if I'm facing like a squish team, like say for example they have a Nidalee or like a Kha'Zix jungle, and I'm facing like a Soraka Vayne or something, I'll usually go Infinity Edge into BT, or BT into Infinity Edge depending on how my laning's going. If I'm behind, I usually go BT. If I'm ahead, I go IE, because sustain's always better when you're behind. So I normally would say I get attack speed third item, or if anything, I'll go Zeal second and build it into like a Bloodthirster.
Okay. So you don't complete your Zeal like
no.
right off the bat?
Yeah. I'll get like pieces, if anything. I usually go attack speed boots or like Berserker Greaves after my first core item, and that's where your runes come into play, because then you have like over 30% attack speed just from your boots and your runes. Right. And that's quite a bit.
And again, Draven, although it does capitalize on attack speed, is more on just those, 2-3 shelling people. So
that's another thing too, is your axes also scale off the AD, and the more AD you have, the higher your axes scale. So it's like a double-edged thing.
Double it. Whoa.
Two swords, yo.
Careful there.
No. Yeah, for real. But attack speed and crit can also help a lot. But in the Zeke's meta, going to like big like 80 items is really good because you get 100% crit chance usually, anyways.
Cool. Just seeing in chat, if you are just recently joining the stream, don't worry, the VOD will be up. I'm going to take this time to plug. The VOD will be up after the show as well on to YouTube, and you can find all of that on our website at cc-lol.com. You can also view our stream live there under the live tab, but you will be able to easily find the YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter pages, which we are all very active on, so make sure to keep up to date on all the content that we are producing. Again, we will be trying to do a show every twice a week. So far, this is our second of the week.
Show.
It's our twice first time Draven week show of the day. So that is what we're trying to do. If you
Can we name the stream that?
There's a good chance that'll happen. So so yeah, if you guys like the content that we are producing, First Time Draven is one of 5 of our amazing coaches that we have that all are around the D1 to Challenger level in solo queue, and most of you guys, I believe, are Challenger in ranked 5. So
yes. I've been Challenger solo queue before. I just have a full-time job currently, and I can't devote nearly as much time as I used to.
You can no longer be First Time Draven. He's Second Time Draven, First Time Job. So
exactly.
So let's take a few more questions from chat, and then we will wrap this up. So how about, I've had AFK support quite a bit. What is the best thing to do if you have an AFK support, or even an AFK in general in solo queue?
It really depends on the rank, I guess. When I'm like playing in like lower plat or gold for fun, then I pretend I'm the AD and support combined, and I just outplay them, and I play as if I'm in a 1v2 lane. So basically, I sacrifice all the CS I have to, and I try my best to get the experience. Because after a certain point, you will outlevel the 1v2, and you'll be able to farm safely. You can even ask your top lane for a swap, if that does happen, and hope your support comes back. Because 1v1 is a lot easier for an AD than a 1v2. And your top laner will probably, hopefully, be okay with it. Unless it's a really stubborn asshole. I mean, solo queue, right?
It is solo queue, let's not forget.
So and like Diamond, though, if you support AFKs, then just try your best to play safe and just try not to get abused going for 1 CS.
That'll happen. So here's actually a question I have as well. I am not an AD carry main. However, when I do play AD carry, those, you know, pesty bards, I'm just going to use as an example, who tend to roam out of lane.
Oh, yes.
You know, you got your Threshes, your Blitzcranks, the supports that just tend to roam out of lane. So when that happens, describe to me sort of what you should be doing. I mean, obviously, you're not running in 1v2 and trying to die, but at the same time, if they're ahead, you know, if they're ahead or whatever, you might get completely zoned off the farm. So I guess that kind of goes into like an AFK kind of thing. Yeah,
usually as a bard main, you will roam a lot, and I have to understand that too. I do position up a lot when my support goes to roam, and I forget that my support's roaming. So you always have to be constantly aware of what's happening. And if your support needs to help somebody else, or if your support's able to make a play that helps your team towards winning the game, you have to be able to sacrifice some of your own gain for it. You have to understand that League is like a team game. You're not the main carry every single game. You have to realize that. So sacrificing some of your gain for your team's potential benefit is something you gotta do.
Right.
It's something you'll learn eventually. It comes with game knowledge, I find, and being aware of the map.
Okay. So let's take maybe 2 more questions from chat. So let's do, I could just take both of Dylan's questions, but I'll take one of Dylan's questions. So somebody else post a question in chat. But what support do you like playing with the most? I guess you can answer that 2 ways. One with Draven and just one in general.
Every single team and every duo I've ever had all know me very well for what support I like the most, and it's Janna. I have one of the highest win rates of like any single lane with Draven Janna. I probably dominate the lane 80% of the time. And like dominate, I mean like 8-0 before 10 minutes. It's absolute madness. Draven and Janna skill so well together, and she can peel when I'm getting like ganked, and she's one of the highest potential 2v3 champions. Like, Draven has a lot of 2v3 ability, and when a squishy jungler comes to gank me and I get a Janna, I'm like, let's do this. Let's go. I am down. Like, I have 2 BF swords with Janna. Let's go.
Cool.
And I like Janna and probably Thresh if you're good.
So that guy should probably not Thresh again.
I would prefer the Janna.
Okay, I'm actually going to take 2 more questions, but they're both in chat, so
yeah.
No more questions, but thanks, guys. I'm going to go with first question. So it's a 2-part question, so I guess three questions, but I'm going to sum this up. Where do you usually put your trinket in lane? aka, do you put it for the jungler, to look for the jungler, or do you put it in a lane, like in the lane brush? And just what are some good solo queue timings for when to look out for ganks? Bot lane.
I like the first question with the trinkets. A lot of supports don't understand that I can't leave the lane as much as they can. I need to place my ward in the bush, and they need to place theirs in the river or in Tribrush, because they have more ability to roam around than I do, because I can't miss EXP, I can't miss CS. They can miss 1 or 2, it doesn't matter so much. But when my support places something in, like, my lane bush, and I'm not able to currently leave to, like, ward the river or the Tribrush, and we get ganked for it, it hurts us way more than it benefits by any means. Like, they're just being lazy and thinking that they constantly need the vision in our lane.
Right.
And a lot of times with Draven, you're pushed up to their tower. So always in lane, in my opinion. But if you're, like, really dominant, then you can, like, roam over and place a ward in river while your support places one in Tribrush. That's not too bad.
Gotcha. And then we're going to do last question here from a good friend of mine. How do you know when to leave lane and when to keep farming? So that's probably more of like a, transitioning into mid-game kind of thing.
That's one I actually had a lot of trouble learning. And basically, if you're every single lane is dominating, you don't really need to leave lane as much, or you can leave lane immediately and everybody just push down mid. But I leave lane when my lane is applying more pressure than I am. That's usually when I leave, because I like to keep my lane there if I'm constantly, like, pressuring them and denying them, because it forces their team to bring more down to me, and I'm comfortable facing that much. But a lot of other AD carries, I wouldn't do that as much, so I'd probably roam around. Like I said, I like to take the tower around 12 minutes and then help my team, because 12 minutes is a pretty decent time when you have your first item, a little over 100 CS. You get some, like, jungle vision down, you can rotate for dragons, and start to set up global objectives. Like, once you get that first mid tower around 12 minutes as well, it really opens up the map, and you really want to help your team get to that as you are the tower pusher.
So for anyone in bronze, silver, or gold,
12 minutes,
or platinum,
that's the key.
When you reach, like, the 15 to 20 minute mark and you have, like, 100 CS and you get half of your first item, that's about
you're doing it wrong.
when you're going to want to start.
Yeah.
That definitely makes sense. So, all right. I guess that's wrapping it up here, guys. The ADC late game dream. We saw it here from first time Draven playing none other than Draven.
For the first time.
For the first time, of course.
Of course, absolutely.
So that's going to be it from us, guys. Thank you for watching Coach's Corner, where we learn how to stun our opponents on solo queue. Remember to like, favorite, subscribe, whatever the rest of those things are. And we are planning on doing Sundays are a guarantee, and Tuesdays or Wednesdays around there will be the other one. Make sure to follow our Facebook and our website and our Twitter and all that stuff to figure out what the next show will be. Remember, we do have around 5 coaches, and they do all main different things. So that's it from us. Remember, thank you for watching Coach's Corner, where we learn how to stun our opponents on solo queue.
too old now. I'm just afraid that you'll walk away. Just a glance is all it took for me to fall, but you don't even know that you were looking at me. And when you smile, smile with your eyes that pass right over me, like I was out of place as it feels to be. You're a little too close, but too far away. It's much too early, hurts far too late. Maybe I'm too old now. I'm just afraid that you'll walk away. You're across the room from me, but it's an ocean wide, and the current's pulling us, dragging me aside. Or you're a constellation, and I'm just a star, blinking in the universe, but you'll never notice me at all. When you're gone, I don't know what to say. When you're with me, I can't say anything anyway, so just believe me. Even if the words don't come out, they're here inside my head.